Democrats think blacks are inferior.
Mr. Reagan.
Now, Democrats are always telling you that black people need certain elevated levels of help by the government, right? And the argument goes that, black people just can't make it in America because of historical inequality, historical inequity, right? This is what they say. One example of this is affirmative action. Although affirmative action was originally created by Richard Nixon, a Republican, the idea has been challenged many times by Republicans. We believe that we are in a sort of post-racist country, and we're at a level where that particular legislation is no longer necessary. But Democrats constantly fight for it. Black people need an advantage going into college. Now, what they'll say is this is because of historical inequity, like this idea that historically, because America has been racist in the past, black people are still at a disadvantage. The idea is that if you are cruel to a particular, any culture, that it will take them perhaps hundreds of years to overcome that cruelty. Now, this has obviously not been true for a lot of other cultures. I mean, I could go down a list, the obvious one is the Holocaust, Jews and the Holocaust. You could go down any list of different cultures and all the different cruelties that have been put upon them by other cultures and give examples of how they've been able to overcome this. So there's probably another explanation for it. But here's the interesting thing about this presumption. It existed before the excuse of historical inequity existed. And we'll get to that in a moment, right after this. First, of course, I have to sell you something.
Did you know that you can buy, sell, save, and spend physical gold with Swipe with Gold? It's super easy with the mobile app to buy real gold for better financial security. Just go to swipewithgold.com, download the app, register, and a prepaid debit MasterCard will be delivered by mail in just a few days for free. Here it is right here. I got my prepaid debit MasterCard here. They just sent it to me, and I'm very excited. I'm going to start using this immediately. Now, when you get your card, you just load your cash onto the card, and then you're ready to buy, save, and spend in real gold. It's that simple. You can withdraw your money anytime at any ATM that accepts MasterCard. So visit swipewithgold.com, that's swipewithgold.com, and download the app right now to get your free card and start using real gold as money.
Before the Democrats became the party of identity politics and, we love black people, we love gays, we love the environment, we love feminists, things like that. Before that, they were the party of racism, openly, right? They were the party of the KKK, right? They were the party of slavery. And the arguments for keeping black people enslaved, and the arguments for not letting black people vote, and the arguments for keeping black people in separate schools and separate drinking fountains, all this kind of stuff. The argument for that was that black people were inferior to white people, right? That there was some kind of genetic inferiority that kept them on a different level. So you can't have these human beings that exist on a different intellectual level voting, things like that. Now, all of this is obviously ridiculous. You have lots of very successful black people. I mean, the whole concept is just ridiculous, right? And yet that was the claim. So the funny thing about the Democrat platform is that it hasn't really changed. Interestingly, they're saying the same thing today. They've just got a different reason for it, right? Well, it's not that they're inferior. It's that white people have oppressed them for so long, blah-de-blah-de-blah, but it's the same argument. It's the same argument. Do Democrats really think that black people can't make it in America because of historical inequity? Or do they really actually secretly think black people are inferior? I think they still believe that black people are inferior, and a lot of Democrats I talk to, white Democrats, will tell you that they think everybody's a little racist. Well, you know what that tells me? That tells me they're a little racist, and they don't want to be the only one. So they have this overarching view that everyone's a little racist, but everyone isn't a little racist. A lot of people are not racist at all, including me. I would never accept that idea that everybody's a little racist. I certainly wouldn't accept the idea that I'm a little racist, never. And yet they say this. And that leads me to believe that they are mostly a little racist. And because of that, they feel a bit of guilt. And so they think, well, we'll help out black people a little bit because they're a little bit inferior. That's horribly condescending. That is unbelievably patronizing. To me, that is a disgraceful point of view. It seems to me that every Republican I talk to says, I don't understand why we're providing special treatment for certain races. Everybody can make it on their own if they work hard, if they are determined, if they're motivated, if they have ambition. You just need a few positive qualities, and you can make it in America. Doesn't matter if you're black or white or green, it doesn't matter, all right? That's the Republican view. The Democrat view is, well, that's true if you're white or Asian or Indian or maybe Hispanic, but if you're black, no. Those rules don't apply to you. And again, they want you to believe it's because they think blacks have been historically oppressed or something like that. But I don't think so. I think it's because they genuinely believe blacks are inferior. There's obviously lots of successful black people, right? So the concept that black people are inferior is obviously wrong. So if you are a genuine non-racist person, you have to be a Republican because the Democrats believe black people are inferior, clearly, right? Take, for instance, the situation with the woman with the dog, right? The situation. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, the guy was harassing her or something like that, so they were both wrong. And certainly, people get into fights all the time or disputes randomly along a hiking trail or something like that. But usually, the white woman doesn't say, I'm going to call the police on you and tell them that a black man is harassing me. Okay, usually people don't say stuff like that unless you have some kind of racist ideas. Let's go ahead and play that video so you guys can remember what happened.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking pictures calling the cops.
Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
There is an African-American man. I'm in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
Okay, so that woman was a strong, hardcore, left-wing Democrat. Okay, she was not a Republican. So it makes you think, like if you have these, white urban Democrats who secretly harbor this racism against black people, all of this stuff about we support Black Lives Matter and we support black people and affirmative action, all this kind of stuff, it makes you wonder what the motivation is behind that. Do they really want black people to be equal? So there's basically two versions of the United States, right? There is the version that is reality, right? The version that I think Republicans live in. There are certain rules that society lives by. This is how you get a job, or this is how you start a business. This is how you hire people. This reality exists with the laws of the land, the laws of society, and also the laws of nature, right? Things like men are physically stronger than women. A lot of people have difficulty living in the world as it is, right? The world is a hard place to live in. There are certain cruel realities that exist in nature, right? One of those realities is that physically fit people, tend to be more attractive than fat people. That's a reality that a lot of Democrats don't like. So they'll argue the opposite. They'll argue fat is beautiful, right? Big is beautiful. They say this a lot. Another harsh reality is that attractive people, beautiful women, handsome men, tend to be treated better than ugly people. Democrats also don't like this. Certain groups pretend that's not true, but we all know it's true. Another reality of nature that Democrats don't like is that men tend to be physically stronger than women. Democrats don't like to believe that, right? So they tend to say that, oh, no, women can be just as physically strong as men. Not all Democrats. Hardcore feminists like to say it, which is obviously insane, right? The average man is stronger than the average woman. Everybody knows this. Not a lot of people like it. Like, a lot of people don't like that reality, but it's real. That's true. That's part of the reality of nature. If you're a man and you don't like being a man, you want to be a woman, Democrats say, well, you can just pretend you're a woman and we'll all go along with it. We'll all believe you. If you say you're a woman, you're a woman. This is, of course, absurd. There's all these fake things, right? These lies, essentially, that Democrats perpetuate to facilitate those who don't want to live in reality. I call it living in Middle Earth, right? It's a fantasy version of America. There's two realities. There's America as it is, and there's America as the Democrats would like it to be. And this fake version, this fantasy version of America, is very attractive to certain kinds of people. Now, in this reality, rich people tend to be evil, right? Good-looking people tend to be evil. White people are evil. Men are evil. The strong is bad and the weak is good. That's the reality that they have created for people to live in so that they're not hurt by, difficult truths. And in order to facilitate these, what they call marginalized groups, they will give money to their groups, right? Or they will give power to their groups, or they will give some other kind of incentive, some kind of favorable treatment, right? So they'll pass laws that are favorable toward the particular groups. And I listed this in a previous video, but I'll do it again now. The major groups are, of course, feminists, black people, gays, Hispanics, immigrants generally, but Hispanics specifically, and environmentalists, and of course, beta males. Now, here's where things get a little bit crazy. Democrats, in catering to these groups, especially people who maybe don't have a ton of money, lower income people, stuff like that, they want to keep people feeling like they are the oppressed people, that they are the victims. Because if you're a victim, the Democrats say, we'll help you, right? We'll create legislation that'll help your group, or we'll make sure that you get some money for, like for instance, Eric Garcetti, because of the riots, Eric Garcetti has taken money out of the police fund and he's pushing it toward the black community somehow. He hasn't said exactly how, but that's his idea, right? That's a quintessential example of a Democrat saying, we're going to give money to you guys who are going to vote for us Democrats, right? That's their strategy. All right, so how does this translate into an incentive for Democrats to keep certain people marginalized or racist or whatever? Who typically votes Republican? Relatively successful people, business owners, people who are genuinely trying to improve their lives, people who are into growth and achievement and this sort of thing, right? Who tends to vote for Democrats? It is, people who are typically poor, maybe people on welfare, or people who feel marginalized. Like I talked about in my last video, a lot of black people in America feel like white people are racist against them, so they feel oppressed, right? And that's all obviously something that's been told to them by Democrats for decades. All right, just think about the concept of welfare, right? Welfare has always been a Democrat issue. We want to give more poor people more welfare. And Republicans are always trying to create welfare reform, right? Especially in terms of fraud, taking out the fraud in welfare. But the Democrats continue to do this. They're essentially trying to buy votes every year by telling poor people, we will give you more welfare in the form of this social service or that social service, this program, that program, just giving out more money for welfare, more housing, this kind of stuff all the time, right? We will give you money because we care about poor people. That's what they're saying, right? The Republican idea has always been, we'll give you jobs. We'll try to create an economy that will provide jobs for you. And Trump did that, right? We saw that in the last few years before the pandemic, and we're going to see that again as soon as the economy comes back. So here's the thing. It's in the Democrats' best interest to have more poor people in America, because the more poor people you have, the more people you can promise welfare to, the more people that are dependent on the government for social programs, for food, for housing, for all of these things. Keep people poor, make more poor people. Keep people feeling marginalized, make more marginalized people, right? Because then they get more voters. Republicans, on the other hand, if they want more votes, what do they got to create? They've got to create more rich people. They've got to create more successful people, all right? So Democrat politicians have a strong incentive to keep you poor, or to keep you feeling marginalized, or to keep you feeling like you're oppressed, that people hate you, right? So, because vote for us, because we're on your side. We'll help you out personally. It's like I was talking about before in my previous video about the patchwork quilt of Democrat special interests. They'll give money to the environmentalists. They'll give money to the black community. They'll give money to immigrant groups. They'll give money to feminists. They'll give money to all these people, LGBT folks, and they'll say, we're for you. We want to help you. Look, we're giving your group money. We're creating legislation that helps you, right? We're on your side. But they're not really, because they want to keep you feeling marginalized and they want to keep you poor so that you keep voting for them. Republicans, on the other hand, we don't really care what your skin color is. We don't care what your sexual whatever. What we care about is that you have an opportunity to be successful, because we know that successful people vote Republican. The Democrats want more poor people. The Republicans want more rich people. The truth is, rich people vote for Republicans, poor people vote for Democrats. Republicans want you to do better, if not just because they're altruistic and good people, because they want your votes. And they know the wealthier you are, the more successful you are, the happier you are, the more likely you are to vote Republican. So if you want to be happier, if you want to be more successful, if you want your family to be more successful, your parents, your children, your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, if you want the people you love and care about to be more successful, you have to vote Republican. All right, that's it for me. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they know so much. That isn't so. Good night.
The goal for all of us should be that one day things will be done neither because of nor in spite of any of the differences between us, ethnic differences or racial differences, whatever they may be, that we will have total equal opportunity for all people. And I would do everything I could in my power to bring that about.